I met Josh through Aaron, actually, because those two had been friends since, what, high school? Younger?
I mean,
Middle school, I think. I think we originally met through church.
well, I say, yeah, we knew each other at church. I mean, since kindergarten,
Yes,
for sure.
yes, yes.
Well, you went to school with me in kindergarten, then left. Like, I don't know, man. You just left.
I left. I just
You packed your bags and went on the journey?
Yeah,
Thought you were Bilbo Baggins?
thought you spot the height.
Unfortunately, we do not have Bilbo Baggins with us, aka Josh Brewer. He is still off in retirement land because Josh, the old man, had to retire from the podcast after a year and a half or so. Because old man Josh is just going to be old man Josh. Love you, Josh.
a little bit.
Welcome to another episode of Use Your Words Podcast in December of 2020. During the time of COVID, coronas, and all that is fun regarding masks, quarantine, isolation, and all that goes with it.
Yes.
Were you just trying to sing a song there?
Isolation, yeah, by Alter Bridge.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, we're here again, and today, I want to make something very clear.
Uh-oh.
I saw a video recently that someone posted on Facebook that they posted on their TikTok. No, I do not browse TikTok, so if it had been on TikTok only, I would never have seen said video. But they put it on Facebook, so I was like, okay, fine. I watched it. My first reaction to it, and Aaron can attest to this because he has seen this as well, is that the zooming in on it is cringy. And then the content itself, well, that's what we're going to talk about. We're not going to talk so much about the cringe of the zoom in and making the face a potato face. And I'll say this. I know this person. I was roommates with this person in college. I really like this person. He has a podcast as well, Threads Podcast. So when we're not punching up at him, although they do say if you punch at people, punch up and not punch down. So, yes, we'd be punching up, so that'd be okay, but we're not punching at him. This isn't a reason to attack. It's just the fact that he put out something content-wise, and it's like, all right, let's critique the content. And we're not critiquing the person in this regard. We're not saying that this person is idiot or anything like that. Again, on the heels of talking about loving a person, you can't love a person and then call them an idiot at the same time. In fact, if you look in the Bible, that's akin to hatred, which is akin to murder by calling them an idiot.
Oofta.
Yeah, so love and calling someone an idiot, completely different things. But that's just how it goes at times. So, that being said, the video in question here, there's no visual elements that you need to be aware of. So
Besides the zooming in.
you don't need to be aware of the zooming in. But, so I'll link to the video in the show notes. A, as the fact that we're not taking anything out of context, and B, if you agree with them, so be it. You agree with them. You can disagree with us. That's all. That's your right as a person to do so. And all we ask is that the conversation be about the topic, not the person. And again, I can disagree all I want with this person. Does not mean I do not like them. Does not mean I hate them. I am just merely discussing the topic that they brought up without discussing them. So when we get into this, I may say he says a point or says something like that. Aaron may say the same thing, but we're not saying like he, as in he is an idiot. He said this, blah blah blah. It's more along the lines of he just said that. This is what he said. So I mean, okay, that's what he said. It's not a condemnation or an attack on him. Him being Ben and him being Ben Crocker. Since
I met you once.
Yes, you did. So, Ben, if you listen to this, again, I don't hate you or anything. I just happen to have a different opinion than you on your little TikTok video, again, I understand you get like 60 seconds to say what you're going to say. So maybe you couldn't be as thorough as you would like to be, but that also does lend credence to the fact that, and this isn't a Ben thing, this is everything thing, that sometimes the delivery mechanism in which we try to deliver our message needs to fit the message we're trying to deliver. We can't attempt to deliver a 2-hour-long message in 60 seconds. It doesn't work. Not for us. You fit the content to the mechanism in which you're delivering it. And that's a hard thing to do, I will admit. It is a hard thing to do. So again, this is an attack on Ben. In fact, if anyone even tries to attack them, I will say this: go away right now and stop. Because Ben is still a good friend. I still respect him. I still support him. I just maybe disagree with him on this, and that is fine. We can disagree on things and still be friends and still love one another. With that being said, let's listen to this video, and then we'll come back to this.
I came across an article in which the author says, and I quote, "I am beyond thankful for the pain and suffering that I have experienced. I am overwhelmed with gratitude for my trials." I don't think that's right. Let me take you back to the good word. 1 Thessalonians 5:18 says to be thankful in all circumstances. Now, where does it say in that verse that I'm supposed to be thankful for difficult situations? Wait, it doesn't say that. Nobody's thankful for hard times, and that's okay. You don't have to be thankful for them. Be thankful in them. Be thankful for the breath you just breathed. Be thankful for the new day that awaits you tomorrow. Be thankful for the moment you have now. Face each moment, each trial, each day with a spirit of gratitude. That's what counts. You don't have to fake being thankful for hard times.
Okay, there we go. I had to kill the page there so it didn't accidentally spin it back up again, because I've actually had that issue with this webpage. TikTok's webpage is not the most elegant webpage in the world.
Well, it's TikTok.
It's a Chinese company. I mean,
Oh, I don't know anything about that. I just know it's called TikTok.
yeah, I know. Yeah, anyways. Regardless of the fact, so that was the video that caught my attention when he posted it, and I had some thoughts on it. But before I went into what my thoughts were, I wanted to hear what Mr. Johnson's thoughts were on it. Again, do not attack him. Comment on the thoughts. Now? Yes, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to everyone.
Okay, I was like, boy.
Talking about it, and just talking about everyone, because I want to make it very clear. This is not an attack Ben campaign. This is he brought up a position, and I thought it deserved some critique. And because I had different thoughts, and I don't know what Aaron's thoughts are, honestly. And I told Aaron this. I did not send him the video to pre-watch this ahead of time because I did not want to A, taint his ideas, or B, let him think so hard and deep on it that he had like this formulaic response. I wanted to hear his gut, off-the-cuff reaction to it. So, that being said, Mr. Aaron, the floor is yours.
Yay. I guess listening back to it, because this is the second time I've heard it, I feel like the main part that gets me about it is at the end is where you don't have to fake being thankful for hard times. Because, I mean, yeah, going into any hard time is never fun. Mm-hmm. And it's not our natural thing to be like, it's not natural for us to be like thankful or have gratitude for what's going on. I mean, yes, there's a whole, you still have, as you said, you take another breath, you can still breathe, you're still living, you're still going on. Like, obviously, there's tons to be thankful for in any circumstance. But I guess I don't know. I guess I would say that you can be thankful for hard, difficult times. Because I feel like if you never have difficult times, you're not going to learn anything. Mm-hmm. Not to say you have to go through something difficult to learn stuff. I mean, but I mean, it puts you to the test, and it works who you are as a person and things. Like, I mean, obviously the biggest one physically for me in my life was my first motorcycle accident. And with that, like, it shows me, well, one, it showed me how much you would take for granted on a daily basis, just like things I can do. Granted, I mean, I can do everything that I can think of that I would normally do. It's just more difficult in some circumstances, like moving. Like, if helping anybody move furniture or whatever, like, my right arm can only twist so far, so I can only grab certain items certain ways. So there's that. But it still makes me thankful that I can. I mean, 'cause I guess you could say I'm still in a difficult situation. I'm still thankful for it because I can still use my arm, and it's taught me many things not to take for granted, I suppose. So in a sense, yes, I am thankful for the difficult time in that, because it's shown me what I wasn't appreciative of in the first place. Well, as appreciative as I could and should be of, like playing drums and guitar. That takes more work now to do than it did back then. And as far as the drumming stuff goes, it's just more work right now anyways, because I'm a lot more out of shape than I used to be. But with my arms in general, like, my left wrist will hurt after a while, depending on how long and how hard I play. My right wrist can get a little funky on certain movements that I make. So yeah, that's one example. And any, like, gosh, I don't know. I guess I see what he's saying though. Like, I get it to a point, because it's like, yeah, it's when you get into a tough time, you don't like to be thankful for whatever it is that's going on that's tough. But then often, I would say more often than not, you're not thinking about what you are going to or you are learning as that time is going on. Because, yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm taking this out and not, I don't know, reading it or thinking of it quite correctly. But oh, come on. And I'm trying to think of another passage. I can't think of what it is. But there's the whole thing of James 1 verse 2. I mean, I've heard this explained definitely different ways in the past. But I mean, it says, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness."
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm trying to think of how I've heard those messages on that passage being addressed. But it's like, it's not like you're going to go out and purposely try and get yourself in difficult situations and be joyful about it. But it's just a reminder to know, I guess, to me, thinking about it, as far as I know, I don't know, it's when you get into those difficult times, you may not necessarily show like this all happy joy, like, woo thing, but it's just a reminder knowing you that you're growing and developing more as a human, and in your faith, if you're a person of faith, you're growing more in that. And the more you grow, I would say that's a good thing, and the better off you're going to become as just a human in general. So it's like, I would say yes, I am thankful for the difficult times in life, because it's helped me learn something and grow more. I guess I don't go out and boast about it in excitement when I'm having a hard time, because, yeah, nobody likes going through that. So that's, I don't know, I guess that's all I can think of at the moment. But it's like, yeah, I guess the biggest thing, again, that really, I guess, kind of gave me a weird feeling was the whole fake being thankful for a hard time. Because, I don't know, I guess, why fake it?
Yeah, that's a fair question. Why fake being thankful if you're not actually
thankful for something?
Thankful, yeah. I think
That's very surface level stuff,
I think what the speaker was getting at was more along the lines of, some people may feel that they have to be thankful for every hard situation, and even if they're not thankful, they're putting on this little fake face of saying, "Oh, I'm thankful," even though I'm not.
Right. Well, and yes, yeah. You'll get people that are, I mean, like that, and it's, I mean, in time or with some, depending on the person, like you'll either kind of know right away whether they're being genuine about that or not. But then, yeah, I can see how, like, yeah, you can get some people that really just over dramatize and over exaggerate stuff and just make it seem like this really weird, they're on this whole new high level of something weird.
Yeah.
And just to, I don't know, boost whatever it is they want boosted. I don't know.
Yeah. When I was listening to this, again, I'm not bashing Ben at all because I know him. I love him. He's a good guy. I just disagree with this. But personally, when I was listening to that, like the thing that caught my attention was there was so much emphasis on the word in.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was like, well, it says in.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, it says in that. And this is where we get down to English being such an imprecise language.
Oh, yeah.
I have
other translations.
Well, like I have a website up with a bunch of other translations. Now, obviously, I've talked about this before. There's a translation called The Message. The Message is not a direct one-to-one translation. It's more like of a paraphrase of a translation to make it, I guess you could say, easier to read, type of deal. They translate it as, be cheerful no matter what. Pray all the time. Thank God no matter what happens. This is the way God wants you who belong to Christ Jesus to live. So, it gets rid of that pesky word in or through or all that other stuff. But you look at all these other translations, it says, no matter what happens, always be thankful, for this is God's will for you who belong to Christ Jesus. That's the Living Bible translation. You look at the ASV, the American Standard, that gives, back the in everything give thanks. So there's those lines that have that where it's like, oh yeah, in everything. So, you're able to, depending on your translation, you're going to get different wordage, you're going to get different verbiage, and you can make things say what you want to say without them saying what they actually say. Mm-hmm. And that can happen across the board. So I'm not like saying he is a heretic and he's causing all this. I'm like, anyone can make things, and we're all guilty of this. We all pick and choose various things in text to read and to say what we want to say to prove and back our point. But I look at it this way, let's move beyond the in statement, beyond the phrasing of in, let's look at the way that we grow as humans. We grow, as you kind of pointed out, through trials and tribulations. We grow through those things which are rough and hard for us. We grow in those things which push us.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least the most for sure, I would
say.
No,
even, okay. When you were a drummer, you were just starting out, right? So we're talking young Aaron. Young Aaron.
Baby.
You would start out and you would have these little exercises you had to.
The rudiments.
And you're like, why am I doing these? I'm sure. Especially as a young kid, huh?
I'll say when I was a young kid, I was like, I'll get everything done in like 6 weeks and I won't need to. Okay.
You're still working on them.
Yeah.
I know, but that's the thing. What do? You start off practicing the basics.
Yeah. Well, I guess, and I'm saying like, because starting it wasn't hard. Well, okay, I can't say that.
No, it doesn't necessarily have to be hard.
That's what. Yeah.
But you're constantly going at it, right?
Oh yeah.
And as you go through it, you're like, okay, I got a little more confidence. Now I'm going to add something a little bit more difficult onto my plate. You do that. Yeah. Oh, you've grown some more. You add something more difficult onto your plate. You do that. Now I'm not comparing something like drumming to like a motorcycle accident or the loss of a child or the loss of a parent. Not comparing those two. Those are apples to oranges. They are nowhere near similar in that regard.
Nope.
But you grow through that natural progression. You have people who are, those jacked bodybuilders. They're not, scary. The way they're growing is not through doing the same amount of weights all the time. They're pushing themselves through those trials every time. They're doing something harder and harder and harder. That's how we grow. We grow through things that are harder, that push us to our limits. And these trials, these hard times, whether we're thankful for them or not, we don't have to always be thankful for them, okay? I agree with that part. We don't always have to be thankful for them. But through these things, there are things to be found to be thankful for. And be thankful for those situations. Like you were talking about with your motorcycle accident, you learn to be a little more thankful for the fact that of the things that you would take for granted.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for a lot of things that I went through that I still don't wish on people at all.
No.
I'm thankful for, and this sounds weird, okay, so take this how you will. It sounds weird. I am thankful for the fact that my dad passed away when he did, when I was younger. Okay, it sounds weird when I say that, right? You're like, you don't want your dad there? No, I, if I could have everything perfect, my dad would. No, he wouldn't be alive still. He'd be too old for that at this point. But he'd be alive at least longer.
Yeah.
Could have had my first beer with him or something like that. Something like that. Yeah. But didn't happen. But I'm still thankful because it gave me a perspective. It gave me a way to connect with people who are hurting with things, to be sympathetic to them. It gave me a way to look at the world slightly differently than everyone else who's still living at home and growing up with their parents. Not singling you out or anything. I'm just saying in general, because that's kind of the popular trend right now, is that people your age are still living at home with your parents. Okay? So it gives me, so I'm grateful for that because I'm able to connect with people in a different manner. When people are having those issues, I can say, yeah, I get it. And literally I can say, when I say I get it, I'm not bluffing it. I'm not saying, oh, I get what it's like to lose a parent. It's, no, I actually do. Going through depression, I would not wish that on my worst enemy. Saddam Hussein himself could still be alive, and I say, no, I do not wish that on him. Hitler could be alive and be like, do not wish that on him. Well, Hitler should be in jail if he was still alive, but I still do not wish depression on him. Okay? But that has given me a different perspective, so I'm grateful for going through that. Because I can connect with other people on a completely different way than before.
I didn't even think about that aspect of it yet.
And so these hard times, they suck going through them. And I agree with what Ben said, that, while you're going through it, be thankful for, another day, be thankful for that breath, for the breakfast, all that, the stuff that we take as mundane, but is required for our daily lives. Be thankful for that. Yes, agree 100%.
Oh, yeah.
But when we go through those hard times, we also need to look back on what we learned through them. Because if we look back on that, we will find out that there are things to be thankful for because of going through that we now know, or we can now sympathize with, or we have learned that we would not have had we not gone through that process. And it sucks to say it because we hate pain.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely not a fan of it. Don't like getting myself in those situations.
And you look at how do you sharpen... Okay, how do you sharpen your knives?
The sharpening kit.
Yeah, but what's actually happening in that sharpening kit?
What's happening in it? I mean, grinding away the old bad. It's
grinding away the old.
Yeah.
It's
getting rid of the stuff that's worn out and worn down,
and it makes it sharper, or sharp again, I should say. Sharper.
It can be sharper than when you got it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's making it sharp again. Because maybe your knife has gotten dull and it needs to be just. Sometimes, honestly, that's what happens when we encounter a rough patch. You see all this concept of midlife crisis and that. People who are getting older and they just don't feel as confident and all that, and they need to do something to recapture their youth and all that. And some of that is good, some of it not so much. Aaron's going through a quarter life crisis right now. I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, it's okay.
But you go through that thing and you're like, what can I refine in my life to make me get to where I want to be? Quarter life crisis, midlife crisis, 3/4 life crisis, end of life crisis, whatever. What happens? I'd look at my uncle. You know, I'm sure he was not very appreciative of going through cancer when he did. But now he's on the other side of it, right? He could look back. Here's the things he learned on how to change his life to make his life better.
Yeah.
That now he has a better quality of life because of that. I'm not saying you go, oh, I got my results back. I have cancer. Woohoo! I have cancer.
Yeah, no, that's not.
There is a way and a time to grieve the fact of, oh, I got a long road ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
There is something that I need to fight, and it's okay. But at the same time, if we just look at it as this pure negative every time something goes wrong, we're back to the olden days of, oh, you must have sinned and therefore you got sick.
You're being disciplined for your wrongs.
Instead of looking at it of the long line of an opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's a completely different mindset to think of it. Because you don't think of something as an opportunity while you're going through it. You know, you have the death of the loved one. You're not, this is my opportunity to love others. No, that's not what you're thinking of. You know, you're thinking of, I just lost my spouse. I just lost my kid. I just lost my parent. I just lost grandma, grandpa, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You're going, this hurts. This sucks. I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. You could, because in the immediate moment, there is nothing wrong with grieving. In fact, it is good to grieve. You don't grieve, you're going to cause more problems for yourself later on. But if you're not looking then for those opportunities of like, yeah, this sucks, my buddy died. You know, I think back and, you know, just last year, that's weird. It's only been a year since my buddy Nathaniel passed away. You know, and all that was going up to just sucked. You know, I'll admit that was, you know, but that was me as his friend that it sucked. His wife and his kids had to watch this whole thing. But then watching his wife react how she does. And she goes, God is working through the cancer to affect the other people in the community. She goes, yes, this sucks. I lost my husband. But all these other people were touched because of this. She wasn't looking at it as the whole of it just sucks. She was looking at it as what opportunities is God bringing into their lives through that process. And you know what? That is a very mature way to look at it. It is very hard to look at it that way.
Absolutely.
Because you have to look beyond that immediate emotional reaction, that gut punch to you that says, someone I love is dying. How can I serve God today?
Yeah.
And people out there go, well, that is just a very flawed way of thinking about it. And I look at them and I have to say, no, the way you're looking at it, of me not being thankful for a hard situation, but in a hard situation, is completely different. And I think it is perfectly acceptable to be thankful for a hard situation. And you don't have to be thankful for it during the situation. You can be thankful for it after.
I feel like generally that's how it goes, too, for most.
Yeah, I mean, because during the middle of it, for the most part, you're going to be pretty...
Tired.
Well, you're going to be tired, or you're going to be just emotionally drained, or whatever else, for whatever reason's going on.
I'm working on a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, like...
And dealing with it and whatnot.
You know, something happens. Let's say something happens, like I lose my job, right? But then because I lost my job, this other thing just popped up out of nowhere. And I can look at it as two ways. Oh, what a coinkydink. I lose my job and comes up. Or I can go, it was because I had to be in a place where I was no longer dependent on my job for me to realize that this position, this opportunity came along and was a good where I'm supposed to be going.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be honest, when we're in a job we like, we get comfortable and we stop looking around for other things. And even when this other thing is over here, like blaring like a red light in the distance saying, come here, come hither, this is where you're supposed to go next. We go, I like it here. Exactly. And then something happens where we lose our job and we go, I hate this. I don't like this. But this entire time, this has been over here going, hey, you lost it because you're supposed to come over here.
This is the next step,
Yep.
boy or girl or whatever.
Okay, Bryce.
He'd be a cool one to have on the show.
So when it comes down to it, be thankful for all that, because I literally cannot count. I know I just said that. I know I just said that, so shush. I cannot count on my hands that the number of times that I can look back at those hard times in my life, which at the time I was very unthankful for, very, you could say almost resistant to the fact that they were happening. But now I can look back at it and say, I'm grateful for these things because I learned, I grew, I sharpened, I became better, and I came out the other end of this completely different than how I went in. I still may not wish that experience on others, and I hate that that happened in every sense, but I'm also thankful for it because it taught me a new way of looking and thinking about things before than I would ever have had I not gone through that. I would not be the person I am had it not been for those difficulties. And I think about that, and that makes me question some things like, would I be as compassionate as I am towards people had I not done this? Had these things not happened to me? Would I be living where I am had certain things not happened to me? Would I not be as close to my family had, various other things happen? And you get to start playing this game of what if. And as soon as you start playing that game of what if, you start looking back on those very painful things. You can go, wow, I'm glad I went through that. I'm thankful for that crazy, difficult, depressing, hard time. And then to hear people say, well, you shouldn't be necessarily thankful for the hard times, makes me feel, honestly, a little sad for them that they don't realize the growth and the opportunities that can come from these things. The changes in not only your character, but how you see the world, and that evolve from just boring to vibrancy. Now, I know the big one you're thinking of is probably like your first motorcycle accident, but I'm sure if you took the time to kind of sit back, reflect, maybe have a beer in your hand while you do it, and a cigar in the other. But I'm sure you could think of others besides the motorcycle that maybe weren't as dramatic as the motorcycle. Yeah. I'm not saying you have to start listing them right now or anything. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying you could price, if you took time to sit back and relax a little bit and think back on your life, on those big moments where you changed. Those and the ones where you changed and there was difficult thing associated with them that was painful or hurtful or hard. You can go, yeah, I guess I am thankful for those things that did happen.
I can think of, granted, they're not, yes, they weren't like difficult in a sense. They're just frustrating. But like, I remember all like the silly little friend fights Brewer and I would get into before and after you were around. But like, I don't know. It was weird because I feel like there was definitely times where I thought we would never be friends again, which this sucked because it's like we were such good friends, and I can't remember a lot of the stuff that would ever cause the stupid little hissy fits. But it's like, to a point, like, as time has gone on, it's only helped me kind of understand him more. And then it's like, now it's like, I don't know. I might as well just be considered legally brothers, I guess, at this point.
Sure, we'll go with brothers.
Yeah. Uh-oh. But, as you said, there's so many different, instances where difficult things have happened, where it's like, again, when you looking back on it, it's like, had this not happened, I would be a little bit different today. But
Yeah.
and sometimes we can think it's for the better or for the worse, but we don't know how everything's supposed to be until time keeps going. And eventually we'll find out and learn more and more on why we are the way we are.
Yeah, and we can always look back in hindsight, and it's like, okay, sometimes you go, I wish this didn't happen, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's a classic episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. I know you're not a Trekkie, so that the fact that you don't know this episode, yeah, it's whatever. Anyways, so one of the main characters, Captain Jean-Luc Picard, he's the baldish captain. He goes, make it so, engage, all that sort of stuff, right? So you have Jean-Luc Picard, and then you have this. Essentially like a omnipotent, omniscient being, it's supposed to be like they call themselves essentially they call their species like gods, because they have all this power and it's like magic, There's no explanation given. They just have these abilities in their species and the character, which isn't confusing at all. So the species and the character share the same name, and the name is Q, as in the letter Q. Okay. And Q is trying to, I guess, teach Picard something about how our difficulties in life shape who we are and change us, right? And so what happened is, in Picard's youth, he got into a fight with another group of aliens called Nausicaans. And essentially got, I think it was like stabbed or something, where his heart had to be replaced with the artificial heart. Because it got damaged. And Q's like, well, what would happen if you never got into that fight and you were more controlled and less impulsive back then? And Q's like, boom, and he made it happen. And all of a sudden, Picard finds himself in his current timeline, but he's no longer the captain of the ship. He's just a scientist on a vessel who's very meek and mild because he forcefully controlled himself in the past because, as he grew older, he learned how to control himself better, his impulses and that. As a young guy, you might be more prone to throw a fist fight. And he was very much, trying to be the alpha male of the group, trying to impress a woman, whatever he was trying to do, trying to show off. And he realized the fact that he forced himself to restrain at that young age instead of learning what the consequences of things were. He never took risks then. Because he never took risks, he never advanced beyond his low position in life. And he just sat there being, an average person. And it's not saying that the other people on the ship who, haven't advanced that far are bad people. It's just saying Jean-Luc Picard, because he never learned to take risks, because, his future self and it kind of influenced his old self of him never getting into that fight sort of thing because of Q's influence. Yeah. Wrap your head around all the time travel stuff involved in that. Yeah. Never mind. But because of that, because he never got into that fight, because he never learned what the consequences were and what risk taking was and how to be metered with that and how to, go about things carefully in life, he had a completely different life.
Yeah.
And at the end, because he could remember what his life was like before before Q changed him over. He's like, Q, change me back. Let me get that damaged heart again. Let me get that artificial heart. So I know in my younger age what it's like to take risks and what it's like what the consequences of those are. And so as he's doing that, it's then like, okay, you're back to your normal timeline. You're now captain. So someone literally had to have their heart destroyed. It had to be thankful for it in order to be back in his captaincy. Does that make sense? Captaincy?
So, yeah.
He had to be a captain
saying.
again. And it kind of shows that whole concept of sometimes you need to be thankful for these hard things, because these hard things are what make us who we are. These hard things are what allow us to grow in the correct ways that this is where we're supposed to be. And if we didn't grow in those ways, who knows where we'd end up? We'd end up, making Velcro for the rest of our lives. Who knows?
Yeah. Just remember, I got you that strap to keep your stand together.
I know. It wasn't a jab at you, but I'm just saying, instead of being the captain of a Starship Enterprise, he was,
Just developer.
yeah,
Yeah. This is true.
all because he avoided the one hardship in his life. And I'll admit, there are times when I look back and I'm like, I wish there was a way I could go back and stop this from happening.
Oh yeah.
But then that show brings up the fundamental question of, how would I change as a person then if that never happened? If we never stopped to think about that, we never stopped to think about all these things along the paths of our lives that allowed us to grow into the men and women that we have become.
Right.
We think only about the here and now and the pain, and not what that future potential may be of this item, this event, this hardship, this annoyance, this...
Inconvenient.
Oh no, I was going to say this little squabble that
Squabble.
you two get into.
Squabble.
You and Josh. We never think of what the consequences and ramifications of those things are. We think about the immediate short, and this is America as a whole. We think about the short-term gains and consequences instead of the long-term gains and consequences. And unfortunately, that thought has permeated our human culture and how we think of pain. The church as a whole would not be what it was without the persecution that it went under. There's a phrase out there, and I know I've said this before. Hard times make good men. Good men make easy times. Easy times make soft men.
I was going to say weak.
Weak men, soft men. Soft men make hard times. Hard times make good men.
Burning cycle.
It is a never-ending cycle. But what it gets to is those bad times, we kind of toughen up and we do what we need to do to survive. And because of that, we make good times. But as soon as we make those good times, it then makes the next generation, quote unquote, soft, weak. and that happens to us on a personal level. Hard times makes us stronger. Us being stronger allows us to endure and be able to make things around us better. And sometimes by making things around us better, we get too comfortable and then things collapse and go bad. And then we start that cycle all over again. And it's a vicious cycle too. So be thankful for hard times.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to be thankful for them while you're going through them. But afterwards, reflect back on them. Be thankful for the things that you were able to learn and grow from them. And then say, hey, God, yeah, I didn't enjoy this, but thank you.
He still got you through it.
Yep. And, and I agree. People who say, the platitude of God won't give you more than you can handle, that's a very genericizing the whole concept of everything going on. And that's a platitude. That's just to kind of make you feel good at the time. Because sometimes things happen and God allows things to happen that just suck, okay?
Read Job.
Yeah, exactly. So I do not agree with the platitude of God will not give you more than you can handle. But at the same time, I do agree with the platitude of be thankful for all things in all things, including the horrendous crap that comes our way every single week, no matter what happens. Because ultimately, in the end, the only thing that we can be thankful for is God and the growth that He allows us to have as we continue to go down this journey that we call life.